What about this whole idea of a coup? I mean, I think it's preposterous, if I'm honest, as much as I'd like to see Russia without Putin. The idea that Shoigu, of all people, was leading a coup, I think is absurd. I mean, I'll lay out why very crudely, and then you can, tell me why I'm wrong or whatever. But Shoigu is first and foremost one of Putin's closest associates. They go back to childhood, as far as I'm aware. Second, Putin already sidelined him by putting him in the National Security Council or whatever it is, out of the MOD, so he's lost a lot of influence and ability to command any such thing. But thirdly, he's an idiot. I mean, relative to Putin, he's not some grand strategist with some capacity for scheming behind the scenes. Okay, he's not a complete idiot. He's not Trump's level, but he's not. For me, he lacks certain depth and vision. He lacks the capacity to bring together and oversee what would be required. That's why, as much as the mutiny in 23 by the Wagner Group was a big deal, it wasn't actually going to lead to a coup. They didn't actually want to overthrow Putin. It was more just a show of, we want to show that we're dissatisfied and stuff. You're not going to overthrow the Russian state with 20,000 forces. So, I don't know. I find it very overhyped, if I'm honest. But what's your thoughts?
It could happen. I don't know if or when it will happen. I never want to confuse.
I'm not saying it can't happen. I just found this particular version was rather.
Sure. When somebody gets specific with the name, I'm always skeptical, because if you know the name, of course Putin does, and so it's already dead. It's already dead in the water, right?
That's a good point.
Just being clear there, but don't confuse capacity with intent. Sometimes the most incompetent people are the most sure of themselves, as we've all seen in politics lately. So it's entirely possible that somebody totally incompetent is plotting a coup against Putin, because these guys are all where they are for the same reason. They're corrupt. They want power. They want money. There's a reason they get sidelined, and it's not because Putin's not afraid of them. It's because he is. That said, a coup can happen in a lot of formats. It doesn't have to be literally taking Putin out of power. It could just be diminishing loyalty to Putin, where he can't exercise his decrees. If you have a coup within the military leadership and they just don't want to enact Putin's vision of the war, and they want to just enrich themselves, that's equally devastating for Russia, just on a slower burn rate. And I would argue, it's possible that's already happened. We see the stunning incompetence of the Russian military and how much individual commanders have turned away from trying to win the war, where it seems like they're just trying to make money on the war, taking bribes to not send their soldiers to the front or whatever, and then sending them anyways so that nobody knows that they took the bribe. There's so many examples where the Russian military already isn't operating as a cohesive machine, but rather as a bunch of individual, money scams for the particular portions of it. That is potentially a more devastating coup for Putin than somebody literally taking his position of power. And if that's happening in the military, of course it's probably happening in the economy, and the people who own Russian oil and natural gas and other minerals and things of that sort. So something to watch.